1820, I don't remember the date, 1826, what was it? 1824. Okay. It has the wrong date on it, okay? So it's 2 years off. But the funny thing was, it also says on that placard that he lived there till the land went back to the United States. Well, first of all, that land was never the United States. To that point, it had always been the Indians, because the treaty said he could keep that ground. So technically, it didn't go back to the United States. When the treaty was over, and you'll see that, it actually went back to the United States. Then, it went to the United States, but not back to it. So anyways, that's where it sits. Anybody familiar? I live right here, so I know where it comes basically down the Upper Forest Road. So if you go to have a subway, you're just outside the Flat Valley Reserve, and goes all the way through over to Noble County. And I have to visit this spot, because again, researching for this presentation today, I found out that there was a 8-inch bur oak noted at this corner nearby. Well, being myself, I'm going to have to go up there and look now. I'm sure there's a big gigantic bur oak, or it's a field now, and there's nothing up there. But the other corners, I really didn't see anything I could probably ever find again, but that one intrigued me just a little bit, so I'm going to have to check that one out. So again, so there's the Flat Valley, so we aren't going to do any surveying in the Flat Valley. When the government surveyors came in, they just went around it. So here's all the other sections they did, and just went around it. Then came 1834. So the white man was good to them for 8 years. And now, you know what? We kind of want all those reserves now. You know, we think we want that. So basically, and again, the Miami tribe of the Indian agrees to cede to the United States the following described tracts within the state of Indiana. And then it goes in and describes 1 tract of land, 36 sections at Flat Valley Village, a reserve made by the Treaty of the Wabash in 1826. So we gave it to them, and you can have it for 8 years, now we want it. So they basically took it. I will say, it was an enormous amount of money they gave them for back then. As I was reading the numbers, you know, $50,000 to be applied to the payment of debts to the tribe. So apparently Flat Valley kept doing something. I don't know what he was doing, but and then they were going to give them $10,000 installments every year after that. So now that we've got our ground back, now we got to survey it. So then they went in, and this had already been surveyed, obviously, as we saw on the previous map. So now they go in and they start subdividing the Indian Reserve. So then now there's Turkey Creek. Now we see the reserve line, and the reserve line is still visible today. Again, Upper Forest Road is one of them. Also, as you go past the Enchanted Hills, you go across the railroad tracks, and there's that 4-way stop, and I apologize, I don't know the road name. Is that East Shore Drive or something up there? No. It's not East Shore Drive. What is that? Pardon me? Anyways, from that 4-way stop, you go north, and there's a big jog in the road. Anybody notice that big jog in the road as you head north? You're crossing the Indian Reserve limits right there. That's why that jog is there. And there's your map that I know is available, and I'm sure they'd be glad to sell these to you. So that's all the Indian trails. They're pretty accurate. Okay, they're not bad. They're not bad. I saw a couple mistakes on it, but it's no big deal. It gives you the general idea of where all those Indian trails were, and again, they got it from the original survey notes. Okay, so now who has card number 10 of diamonds? Who has the 10 of diamonds? Right back there, Mrs. Cohn. Mrs. Cohn gets that old map of the Flat Valley Reserve. Yes?
Can you walk over them trails?
Can you walk them? Well, there's not hardly anything left. I mean, there's nothing there. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, now somebody, by the way, again, I'm no expert on this, some of these things, so if somebody knows of any, now you can go out, for instance, on the game preserve, okay? You can go out on the game preserve and you find those maps and you got a pretty good idea where those Indian trails were. I mean, they were just when you go out and walk in the woods, you're going to take the least path of resistance, right? So, okay. So this is just a quick story. I'll hustle through here. We're getting about to the end. So using those old maps, you'll see, and this is real close to my house, and some of you may have seen, I think somebody did an article on this, and maybe the Mail Journal. I live right here, and my grandma always told me there was a school on this road right here, which is now game preserve. Well, I thought she didn't know what she was talking about. She was old. I don't think she did. But I saw this map and I said, well, my golly, it does show a school there. So I went out there, walked down the road, and I looked, and that makes no sense. I don't know why there would be a school there. Now, keep in mind, we're talking middle 1800s now. This map was actually a 1914 atlas, which a lot of people have seen, I'm sure, in here. So then I went back to the 1879 atlas, okay? And now, that school was up here, now it's down here. And I'm like, okay, now that's two atlases that said there actually was a school there. So now I'm a little interested. So this was owned by a gentleman named, let's go to the next map, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so here is the oldest plat map. I don't think there's anything older than the 1866 plat map. I think that's the oldest one. And I saw, and by the way, this is an Indian trail right here. Coming right up here. I mean, it was pretty prominent on this plat map. So, but anyways, it shows a school right there. And again, my house is right here. So, okay, who owns this property? Mr. Weimer. So I went through the transfer books in the courthouse, page by page, looking for the Weimer name, and sure enough, he deeded 1 acre to the township for a school, okay? So I pulled the deed, has a very good legal description on it. There was no road there at the time, but there is now. I started here, and I think I had to go 1,000 feet south, and sure enough, I go down there, and I pulled out by the way, we have old aerial photographs in our office going clear back to 1938. That's our oldest aerial photographs. And here's this empty field and 3 little trees in one spot for some reason. And I'm thinking, okay, now if they're farming that field, they're not gonna leave those trees there. So I thought that was the spot that the school was at. So I took, probably illegally, took my metal detector on the game reserve. And I thought, okay, now what am I gonna find up there? I didn't know, I just thought, I can't imagine something's gonna have to stand out to me to know that this is the spot. So I took the metal detector, should be nothing metal up there because I'm out in the boonies, and I started getting some metal signals. And as I'm walking around in the leaves, I see a concrete foundation, okay? So I pull the leaves back, I pull them all back, there's the foundation of that school. I don't think it started, the school was built in the 1850s. The last class went there in 1924. And the Historical Society, and you guys probably have a copy here of all the old schools of Kosciusko County. You do, don't you? Yeah. I looked at the picture, it's called the Oak Grove School, and I saw a bunch of my relatives in there, so I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So anyway, so I'm wondering, what was that metal I was finding? Now I know. Now I know. They were the school chairs. And by the way, just so you know, I feel those need to go back where I found them, and they will go back, okay? I mean, mean, it was cool to see them, take them home, clean them up, and I was able to get some details off of them. They were made in Toledo, Ohio, and they were forged in Toledo, Ohio. But there were other ones out there, but once I had 2 of them that I could see and bring back home, I was good with that, and I'll put it back where I found them. That'll be, and who knows, no one may ever go back in there again. So we'll wrap up real quick here. One more draw. Let's do one more drawing before we get into that. And what I got here? I got an old Turkey Creek. This is an 1866 Turkey Creek Township map. Who has the Ace of Hearts? Oh my gosh, the Cone family's going home with 2 maps. Yeah. I knew you didn't want to hear me, you just wanted to get a map. So we'll just go through these real fast, but right at the end here. So there's the map that Dana has. I don't want to burst this bubble, but you can go in and see Amy anytime.
Where is that school from there?
That's Turkey Creek. So do we have a Tippecanoe map coming up? I'll show you when it comes.
Is there another school in the Wawasee County teaching right there?
That's all of the schools should be noted on that map. I can't see it from here.
Right down in the lower right-hand corner. Yeah, right on, well, up between like Wawasee and Packaging.
I'm not seeing anything right now. Now some of the older ones might have.
Angelo talks about a school in that area, and I'm wondering if that's not the school.
Well, the Africa school, is that what it's talking about? Yeah, that was in that area, and of course, somebody will have to explain that to me a little better. They moved it to Connors Prairie, but yet there's, on the Stuckman property, just south of the game preserve, there is a Africa school, they call it. My grandma went there, so she knew where it was, but yeah, in that area, yeah. Okay, what else we got, Amy? There it is. So what I just showed you was really just a zoom in of that. But then there is the whole county map, 1866. Probably the oldest, well, it would be the oldest plat map I know to exist. Okay. That one, I better look at my notes here, I can't remember. That one's 1879. Okay. Is that the one you have, sir? You mentioned something about 1879, you had a big...
1894.
1894.
We have
Mine's a
the
big
79.
4 foot by 4 foot, 5 foot panel.
Yeah, you have the 1879.
We have the entire
Atlas,
and the
yeah.
museum of 79 and
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, and the 1914 you have too, yeah. And in that 1866, I mean, that's what, it wasn't North Webster, it was Webster. That's what it was. And that's what it consisted. Go back to that just for a second. It's interesting. Now, how can a gentleman with the last name of Carpenter be a carpenter and a joiner? I thought that was odd. What are the chances? D.H. Carpenter was a carpenter and a joiner. There's a Klein that was a merchant. But anyways, that was in 1866. And then some other old maps, you know, what's kind of cool in the surveyor's office for me, people will bring in old maps. And I said, oh my gosh, can I scan that? You know, and of course they're all, they brought it in because I know they want me to see it, so I saw it. Now I want to have a copy of it for the whole, you know, everyone to enjoy. So we archive it. And this gentleman, he had to peel it off a piece of wood because it was stuck on a piece of wood. So he meticulously pulled it off. I don't think, Amy, you weren't there when that guy brought it in. We have 2 scanners. We have one scanner that scans something about like this, and then we have a big scanner that'll scan huge. Well, but it's a roller, and that always makes me nervous, those rollers, because I'm on the stop button when we run it through the rollers, ready to stop if I hear any crinkling or anything like that. But that was a fascinating view, I thought. You've probably seen maps like this of big cities, Chicago, New York. I found it odd that Warsaw would have one. So there's Wall B, and there's your Wawasee, right? That is a 1938 map drawn by a gentleman who was an engineer in Warsaw, Lessig Engineering. You'll see a lot of maps he drew. He drew almost all the lake maps, okay? And you can see this was in pretty bad shape, but we've been able to hang on to it, so. Again, 1938. And all us surveyors put little notes on here, and I just can't bring myself to get rid of them, so we leave them on there, okay? And there's Webster Lake and the backwaters. That gets back to, somebody said, well, that used to be a number of lakes. Yeah, you're right, it did used to be.
Coon Lake in there?
I think that's coming up. I think that's coming up. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 lakes right there before they put the dam in down here. So
What year is that?
that's, again, he drew that in 1938. Better make sure. I give him credit every year for 1938, but maybe he got tired and did it the next year. No, 1938. And of course, this is a famous one for you folks up here. There's some great copies of this. This is not one of those great copies. My wife and I have talked about getting this line taken out to see if we can get one continuous map. I know they're out there. A lot of people have them in their cottages or in their offices. And, that one was put out, I believe, by the Department of Conservation. Okay, so there's your Coon Lake right there. And again, this is a 1938 also. There's a 1935, obviously. I don't have to read it to you, you can see it. One of the old, I have something, we don't do Blu-rays anymore. We used to when I first started working. I kind of miss those Blu-rays. They make the neatest copies, I think. But obviously we got a big seam or a big bin right there we couldn't get out. It's another Wawasee. That is, I think that one is 1944 is that one. A little hard to see. We tried to scan it numerous ways so it would show up better, because technology wasn't there yet. So, okay. There's a little aerial view somebody shared with me just real recently, actually. Syracuse. There's Turkey Creek coming through. And there's that, what did it say on that arch right there, guys?
Syracuse.
Did it just say Syracuse? Is that what it said? Yeah, I thought that was fascinating that it was still in place right there. And then, let's see, would I be able to see if this is wasn't the school out in this area somewhere? No. No, am I wrong? So there's the downtown. Would that be it right there? Or is that a church?
It's up here. It's
Point to, I gotta see this.
because this is Turkey Creek, right? So
Top up there, top. There you go.
there's a Turkey Creek.
Well, I think this is south this way, I believe.
Well, the school's in Turkey Creek.
Oh, the current school, I meant before it went to where it is.
Okay, sorry.
Behind you. Get in trouble if I lose that. So anyways, now I said, even though on the handout it says I was gonna go right up to what I said, 1906 or something, I went a little farther forward than that. So this is the Wawasee Prep. A little hard to see on here. So there's the Wawasee Prep in 1978. They did a survey. That was probably about when I imagine they were about ready to sell it at that point. So, and I think that might be the last one. The backside of the Mount Rushmore. Very few people have seen that.
And for good reason.
Yeah. Does anybody have a question? My time's up. Thank goodness for you guys. Anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how can this translate into identifying old family properties for genealogical purposes?
Sure. So one of the things I found out, especially in the game preserve, is a good example where they know they live between Webster and Syracuse out in the game preserve area. You look at some old aerials that we have, 1938, you can still see the homesteads on the aerials. So it kind of helps bring people in to the area. Then you get on the plat maps that we've been showing and find out who owned the property at a certain period of time. Then you can go to the transfer books that we have in the courthouse and start following those landowners back. So it does a lot of genealogy work, takes advantage of that stuff. Anyone else? All right. Yes, sir.
You get the 1938 areas.
Where do you get those? You just come and talk to Amy or anybody in my office, in the surveyor's office. We have hard copies of those. Our aerials go 38, 51, 57, 65, 74, 81, and then keeps going from there. So we have a complete set other than the 1974. We do have a complete set of 74s. But the big Mylar copies, there was a fire at the courthouse in 1980, and it started in the basement, and we did lose, excuse me, some of the big, large 74s, but thank goodness we had these little, anybody in the military, remember the 9-inch by 9-inch photographs that you could look stereoscopic, and that's what we had, and we were able to reproduce those, so we do have a full set. So, Mary, you're up.
Oh, there's more questions.
I think that's it.
Okay. I want to thank you very much for coming tonight, and I'm here for a couple of questions. If you have an individual question, feel free to ask Mike. Remember our program tomorrow night and then the programs on Saturday morning. We'd like to have you there. And please fill out the evaluation before you take off and be safe on your way home. Thank you.
Which one?